Hi, this is Lorena, and I wanted to do a tutorial on how to make a quilt top. So here you see me have one quilt block, and I'm just going to do a simple demonstration before we go into the tutorial. So here I have four quilt blocks, and I'm showing you that I section everything by two. So I sew two, then sew the center, then I have one row. I do the same thing on the second row, sew two, then the center, and then I have a second row. And then after I have my rows, two of them together, I sew one long seam. And here you see me showing you how I make sure that right there in those areas where I'm pointing my finger, anytime you have any connection section, make sure they're in line so it looks like a nice, clean, connected block. But initially how you start making a quilt block, or quilt top, sorry, is you start squaring off all your blocks. So here you see me have a big giant ruler. I think this is a 15 by 15. And my blocks need to be 11 by 11, so you see me duct tape all the way across. And earlier I showed you that diagonal 45-degree line. And so here I'm measuring the edges of the quilt block, and I'm going to make sure that there's a nice 40-degree line on those half square triangles, and it didn't need cutting. So if it doesn't need to be cut, go ahead and do another block. And so here I'm doing another block. I'm making sure it's lined up to where the bottom of that duct tape is and the edge of the duct tape, because that's my 11 by 11 mark. And here I see a little bit extra fabric, and I'm going to trim it off. Now, duct tape really does help a lot. Visually, my eyes were getting confused, and you end up cutting sometimes wrong. And after you cut those edges, the top and the side, you flip your block over and you do the same process and trim off the edge. And here you see me have a little bit of excess fabric on the side, and I'm sorry my body's in the way, and I'm going to cut all the fabric on the side and on the top. Now, after you've had all your quilt blocks cut, and make sure that they're all the same exact size, so each block will be different that you make. Mine are 11 by 11. You start. So here you see me grabbing all the blocks that I already trimmed, and I'm making sure that it's white in color and white in color, and that's how I can also do a variation of the pinwheel once they're connected. And here you see me have two rows together. Each row has four blocks, and I made three rows. And what I'm doing here is I'm stacking them right on top of each other. And once I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and get two pieces or two blocks, and I'm going to pin it, and then I'm going to get the other two blocks and I'm going to pin it, and I'm going to go and work one row at a time. And here I'm showing you where I'm going to make sure that it's pinned in the center. Also on a pinwheel, anywhere where there's seams that connect, make sure you pin those anywhere where there's seams. And here on the sewing machine, you see that I pinned on the top and bottom corner and also the center. And I'm going to go ahead and just sew a nice clean straight line seam. Now after you've sewn both pieces together, now it's time to go ahead and sew that center area. The neat thing about this, it's the same process if you have 5, if you have 6 or 7 blocks that you need to put together. I usually work 2 by 2, and then and try to find ways of connecting them. And here you see me have a long strip of 4 blocks making one strip. And here I'm showing you how I made sure that the seams were connected in every area, the top and the bottom and the center. And I'm making sure that each seam is nice and clean and connected. Now, after you've done that, you'll also do that with your other two strips or other blocks that you made a row of. And here you see me ironing all the edges down and making sure that they're nice and pressed and clean, so that when we sew the two rows together, they sew, since you've already measured it, they should sew together nicely. And here I'm showing you the two rows, and I'm going to flip the row over on top of another one, and I'm going to go and make sure that everything is pinned, and that every area where there's this seam, I make sure it's pinned and it's in line, so it makes a straight line and it keeps the consistency of the quilt top. And so here you see me just pinning everything, and I went all the way down, and then we're going to go to the sewing machine and sew a straight seam all the way completely down. Now I didn't show this whole process because I think it would get boring just watching me sew that seam all the way down. But after you do that, you start the process all over again. And here you see me ironing those 2 rows that I put together. I'm ironing that seam out and making sure it's nice and flat. And I'm also making sure that where I connected those seams that it's clean, because this is the time, if it's not clean, that you could unstitch it and re-sew that area. And here I'm just making sure it's nice and checked, and I'm going to get the other row of fabric and I'm going to lay it on top of each other and make sure that I like the coloring, and I didn't, so I went ahead and I flipped it. And here I'm going to start doing the same process, connecting all those seams together, that wherever there's a seam, I'm making sure I'm putting a pin and making sure it lines up nice and straight. Now, the benefits of pinning is when you go on the sewing machine, you don't have to worry about it. If you've pinned it right and you know that it's straight, it will not shift on you when you're on the sewing machine. And here you see me going back again, sewing that 3rd row. Now, this process could be if you have 5 rows, 6 rows. If, however, this is how I do it, regardless of the size of the quilt top or how many blocks I have. So here you see me just ironing this quilt top now, all nice and flat, and I'm going to show you what it looks like. The next step is just to add sashing to make it as wide as you want. And this block or this quilt, I did the same exact process, just row by row. And this is another quilt. In the center, I did the same thing, and what you see it on the edges just sashing to make it bigger. I really do hope you like this tutorial, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.